Welcome to the Innie Project, a podcast for and about introverts, where we are on a mission to change the narrative around introversion. I'm Tiana, an extroverted introvert Capricorn from Brooklyn. This episode is entitled We Need Better PR, the top 6 myths about introverts. The number one myth about introverts is that we're shy. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines shy as easily frightened or timid. The second part of the definition is disposed to avoid a person or a thing. The timid part I cannot deal with, but the second part may be a little more accurate, sort of. Ultimately, some introverts are in fact shy, but introversion doesn't equate to shyness. Shyness is more about fear. As mentioned before, introverts or innies draw energy from their internal world of ideas, emotions, and impressions, with a less emphasis on outside influences. Introversion has to do with energy. We gain energy by being alone or in a small group of folks we know well. We tend to feel drained after social interactions, even if we enjoy ourselves. Introverts can be perceived as shy if folks are rating us on an extroverted scale. Part of the work in changing the narrative will come from acknowledging and pointing out people's unrealistic expectations. Changing the narrative also requires acceptance of ourselves. There's nothing wrong with protecting your energy from people, places, and things. The number 2 myth is that introverts don't like people. And I have to admit that I'm definitely guilty of often saying that I hate people. It's not that we don't like people, it's that we prefer certain types of people. Personally, I feel drained by people who have a lot of look at me energy. I prefer folks who are more laid back. That's not to say that introverts don't like extroverts, because we do. Most introverts have extroverted partners and friends, usually because extroverts are more likely to introduce themselves to us. Extroverts balance us out. We talk to, they talk to all the people we don't want to talk to. The number 3 myth is introverts can't be leaders. The folks who think introverts can't be leaders tend to only value the loudest person in the room. But loud doesn't equate to right. When we think about diversity, we often think about race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, and disability. However, we should also consider personalities. We need to leave room for folks to show up differently and communicate differently. Oprah, Bill Gates, Michael Jordan, Hillary Clinton, Warren Buffett, Barack Obama, Meryl Streep, LL Cool J are all examples of famous introverts and leaders in their fields. I'll do a separate episode on introverted leadership to explore examples and strategies on how introverts can lead authentically. Myth 4. Introverts are less happy. It's not that we're less happy. It's that the things that make introverts happy are different than what makes an extrovert happy. Have you ever been to an event and people keep asking if you're okay or what's wrong? You could be having a perfectly good time, but because you're not bouncing off the walls, they assume something is wrong, especially if you happen to be an introvert who, like me, doesn't drink alcohol. What I realize is that some folks are not comfortable being alone with their own thoughts and their own company, so they can't fathom that you will be okay with it. I could be in my house with my cats for days or weeks at a time and be just fine. Innies value their own thoughts and space, but we can just be without having to explain or entertain. We especially like folks we can be alone together with. Myth number 5. Introverts are socially awkward. Some introverts absolutely are. However, it's more that they can be perceived as socially awkward. But I think it has more to do with communication, expectations, and boundaries. I've noticed that folks often try to force introverts to do things that aren't in their nature and are beyond their social limits. For example, I went to brunch with 2 women that I was trying to develop a relationship with. One of them I had gone out with a few times before, and the other was her friend that I had just met. We had we had brunch for about 2 hours. We had a good time, and I could feel my social battery dwindling. They said they wanted to go to the cigar bar across the street after brunch, but I said I was just going to go home. They tried to convince me by mentioning the type of men that would be at the cigar bar and how much fun it would be, and come on, just a little bit or whatever. This scenario is how things can become awkward. I know my limits, and I don't like to repeat myself or explain myself. If I say I'm going home, that should be enough. This is the type of thing that causes an awkward interaction. Myth 6. Introverts are unambitious. This one is interesting. It's not that introverts aren't ambitious, it's that we don't seek outside validation. In this case, we'd have to reevaluate what ambition actually looks like. I'll do an episode on how Innies can lead authentically and showcase their skills in a way that feels more natural to them. Changing the narrative around introversion starts with us and how we talk about and to ourselves. Other folks won't see our value if we don't recognize our own value and contributions. We don't need to pretend to be extroverted to be seen and heard. We have to figure out which forms of communication work best for us and utilize that to our advantage. We need to set ourselves up for success until society evolves to take us more into consideration. I often say that introverts need better PR because, especially in the workplace, introversion is often seen as a negative instead of the superpower that it is. Extroversion should not be the default or expectation, especially since 50% of the population are introverts. In the next episode, we'll talk about our superpowers. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment or share this episode with another introvert in your life. And if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe to the Innie Project. Every listen helps grow this community. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care of your energy, honor your pace and your peace, and keep changing the narrative around introversion. Enjoy the rest of your day.